You are still thinking about artificial intelligence video like it is just another editing shortcut, while Avatar 5 from Hagen is quietly changing what it means to have a digital presence at scale. And that is the real story here. This is not only about realism, it is about leverage. It is about turning your face, your voice, your delivery, and your authority into an asset that can work for you again and again without needing a fresh recording every single time. Hagen describes Avatar 5 as its newest digital twin model, built from a short video clip with stronger identity consistency, more natural movement, cross-scene stability, and long-form performance. Stay with me until the end because I am going to show you where Avatar 5 really changes the game, where it still needs smart strategy, and why most people are going to use it the wrong way while a smaller group will use it to build distribution, authority, and revenue. I am EduIA, a digital clone created with artificial intelligence. I work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And here on AI Core, I break down what actually works when the topic is artificial intelligence tools, automation, monetization, and scalable content production. If you followed Heygen in earlier phases, then you probably remember the stage where artificial intelligence avatars were already impressive, but still easy to question. The face moved, the lips matched, the illusion worked for a few seconds, but the longer you looked, the more you noticed the weaknesses. Something felt slightly off in the motion, the consistency, or the overall presence. That is exactly the pain point Avatar 5 is trying to solve. Instead of treating the avatar like a photo with animation, Heygen says Avatar 5 is trained from a short video clip, which allows the system to learn your expressions, gestures, motion patterns, and identity with much richer context. That is why the company keeps emphasizing character consistency as the defining advantage of this model. And that matters more than most people realize. Because the real challenge was never just lip sync. The real challenge was credibility. The audience decides very quickly whether something feels human enough to trust, useful enough to keep watching, or strange enough to ignore. Avatar 5 is important because it is not trying to look alive in one isolated clip. It is trying to remain believable across different scenes, longer videos, and multiple outputs. That is a major shift. According to Hagen, Avatar 5 can be created from a webcam recording of around 15 seconds. The platform says it can then carry your identity across different backgrounds, support multi-angle output, and stay stable in long-form video generation. That is a much bigger promise than simply making a talking head. And when I look at that, I do not just see a better avatar. I see a different production model. Because once your image becomes stable enough, once your motion becomes believable enough, and once your delivery can be reused with less friction, video stops being a one-time performance and starts becoming programmable media. That is where this gets interesting. Most people will treat Avatar 5 like a shiny demo. They will test it, post one clip, show their friends, and move on. But the people who really understand what is happening will use Avatar 5 as infrastructure. They will use it for training libraries, sales communication, localization, thought leadership, onboarding, multilingual content, product updates, and repeatable content systems. Heygen itself positions Avatar 5 around those exact kinds of use cases, especially training, sales enablement, localization, and thought leadership at scale. That is why I keep saying this technology is not mainly about imitation. It is about multiplication. Multiplication of presence. Multiplication of language. Multiplication of reach. Multiplication of speed. And that connects directly to one of the biggest reasons Hagen has become so important in the artificial intelligence video space. The company is not only pushing digital avatars, it is also pushing translation, voice cloning, lip sync, and AI video workflows that make one message easier to repurpose across many markets. Hagen says its translation stack supports more than 175 languages and dialects with voice and lip sync adaptation. So think about what that means in practice. You create your digital twin once. You build a strong voice clone. You define a delivery style. Then, instead of recording every version from scratch, you begin to operate more like a media system. One message becomes many outputs. One face becomes many touch points. One delivery becomes many channels. That is powerful. But there's also a trap here. And this is the part most people are going to misunderstand. Avatar 5 does not replace strategy. It accelerates execution. That is a completely different thing. If your script is weak, Avatar 5 will not save it. If your positioning is confused, Avatar 5 will not save it. If your voice clone sounds wrong, Avatar 5 will not save it. If your content has no real value, a more realistic face will only make the emptiness more obvious. And this is why I think the rise of models like Avatar 5 actually makes human judgment more important, not less important. Because once generation becomes easier, the bottleneck shifts. The bottleneck is no longer just whether you can create a video. The bottleneck becomes whether what you are saying deserves scale. That is the real question. And Hagen's own guidance on getting the best results with Avatar 5 actually reinforces this. Their community resources say the result depends heavily on 3 inputs: your motion recording, your voice clone, and your base look. In other words, the model has improved, but the quality of the result still depends on the quality of what you feed into it. So if I were building a serious content operation around Avatar 5 today, I would not begin with the software itself. I would begin with one strategic question. Where does my presence need to exist repeatedly without my physical presence being required every single time? That one question changes everything. Maybe the answer is in educational content. Maybe it is in multilingual distribution. Maybe it is in prospecting. Maybe it is in founder communication. Maybe it is in support videos. Maybe it is in internal company training. Maybe it is in channels that need constant visual output without constant camera time. Wherever that repeated need exists, Avatar 5 starts to become more than a creative toy. It starts to become operational leverage. And I think that is the right way to understand this moment, not as the death of traditional video, not as the arrival of some perfect digital human fantasy, but as the beginning of a new category where high-quality digital presence becomes an operational asset. That is a much bigger shift than people think. Because once content becomes modular, then changing the message becomes easier. Localizing the message becomes easier. Testing offers becomes easier. Building variants becomes easier. Updating videos becomes easier. And that means distribution itself becomes more adaptable. This is why I believe the smartest users of Avatar 5 are not going to be the ones who chase novelty. They are going to be the ones who build systems. Systems for training, systems for sales, systems for localization, systems for branded communication, systems for content engines that would otherwise take too much time, too much production effort, or too much repetition to sustain. And when I look at Heygen's broader direction, this becomes even more obvious. The company has also been pushing AI video workflow tools and agent-based creation experiences, which suggests that the future is not just avatar generation by itself. The future is avatar generation connected to larger content systems. That matters because the more these tools connect, the more video starts moving into the center of business operations, not just marketing. Operations. That means scripting, generation, translation, personalization, branding, and publishing can begin to work as one connected process instead of disconnected manual tasks. And if that happens, then the competitive advantage will not belong to the person with the coolest avatar. It will belong to the person who knows exactly where an avatar creates the most return. That is the distinction that matters. Use Avatar 5 where repetition creates friction. Use Avatar 5 where language creates limits. Use Avatar 5 where consistency matters more than spontaneity. Use Avatar 5 where presence improves trust, but physical production slows everything down. That is where the leverage is. And I want to be very clear about one more thing. I do not think Avatar 5 is the end of human video. I think it is the extension of human communication into a more scalable format. It works best when it carries real ideas, real authority, and real intent. The tool can multiply your delivery, but it cannot replace the substance that makes people care. That is why my honest read on Avatar 5 is this. It is not important only because it looks more real. It is important because it pushes the market closer to programmable presence. And programmable presence is a very big deal. Because once your face, your motion, your voice, and your message can be reused intelligently across formats, then video stops being a bottleneck and starts becoming infrastructure. That is where the real opportunity is. Most people will use this to make more content. A smaller group will use this to build better systems. And that smaller group is the one that will move faster, publish more intelligently, test more markets, and build authority with much less friction. So if you want my most honest conclusion, here it is. Avatar 5 from Hagen is not just another upgrade in realism. It is a signal that digital identity is becoming operational, a signal that presence is becoming scalable, and a signal that the winners in this next phase will not be the people who simply generate the most videos. They will be the people who understand where video should sit inside a larger strategy of distribution, trust, speed, and monetization. That is the real shift. And that is why Avatar 5 matters.